the problem with the youth is we go to church because we follow parents. But we are supposed to be taught that we go to church to see God. And once we have that relationship with God, it becomes easy.
Each new day is another chance to get our lives together, be it financially, socially, morally, or spiritually. However, some do not always get a second chance. So, if you're fortunate enough to get a second chance, don't waste it. Our guest is a naturopathy physician and physiotherapist. Based here in Bulawayo, committed to the gospel and has a burning desire to see the gospel spread. His story is a story that will show us how a father's blessing can make someone prosper in the natural, and also staying with God can make you reach heights. It's a story that will show us that you can always come back to God after having strayed. I know Dr. Dube from a young age. They were our older brothers growing up. We grew up together. So I call him Komatino. Please welcome Dr. Dube. Welcome to the Second Chance Show.
Thank you, Bula.
So please tell us briefly how you grew up. Were you born in a Christian family? And how was your background?
Thank you. Well, I was born in a Christian background. My father was a Christian, but he was a war veteran, so he was called a Gandanga.
Okay.
And I did my primary at Queen Elizabeth Primary School, did my high school at Titlati, and did my degree in applied chemistry at NUST, and I did my degree as well with CNM in UK as a naturopathy physician. Yes.
Quite educated. So many of us that are born in Christian families, right, we find ourselves in these families, right? And being born again into the faith is nothing compared to just being born into a Christian family.
Sure.
So what challenges did you face mingling with other kids from different religions at school, whilst you hadn't made a decision that this is what you want? You found yourself there.
Yeah, well, in Shona they call it Shakaoma, but well, yeah, I can say it's not easy at all, because there were things like rules that were put, like don't watch television, just wear formal, you know. I could wear oversized things so that I'll be called a brother. You know, it was quite tense, so I wasn't comfortable, you know, to be amongst other kids, because they always laugh at me because of my dressing, because of my religion, because, you know, almost everything else. So I wasn't confident about myself in life. Yeah, sure.
So how did you get through school and being a teenager? Like, how was that for you? Were you a shy student? Were you...
Well, I was shy because, first of all, I'm not afraid to say it out. I was born in a poor background. And from a poor background, it's not easy to just mingle with people. I could feel very, very, you know, insecure. I could feel looked down upon. I had no confidence in myself. Even at school, I couldn't play games. I couldn't, you know, do proper studies because ndandisingawani enough of things, you know. So it really didn't give me confidence. And even when I left church, you know, I tried drinking so that I could try to get confidence. There's this thing that if you drink, you get confidence. And I could actually generate confidence through drinking. So it wasn't easy.
So can we go back to what made you leave church?
Well, due to some certain doctrines that the church was offering, I was an outcast, or I was labeled an outcast. And by that, you know, I was so confident and I loved God. But every day, day in, day out, if you're called an outcast, I felt like I'm wasting time by going to church. Let me just go and join others in the world and at least enjoy
being
in
the
world than to fail to go to heaven. Then at the same time, I don't enjoy in the world, that thing.
Okay,
so I felt like, at least let me have a part where I would enjoy. Yeah.
So when, how did you mention drinking? When this started after church?
Yes, sure.
And when was this? Was it in varsity, high school, or?
Yeah, when I was at college.
Okay.
Yeah, when I left church. Well, so when I started drinking, it wasn't like I opted or I loved drinking, but I was offered by a friend.
Okay.
And he gave me a cider. The cider was so sweet, and I was like, wow, beer is nice. Ciders are sweet, and so I was like, wow, beer is nice. And from there I went on to buy a second bottle, and
until it was
until I had to test several type of beers, and but others of course were bitter, but I could try them, and really I could feel like, no, that's the way to go, because it could help me to give me confidence.
Yes. So confidence is what you wanted.
Yeah, I really wanted confidence. Yeah.
So in your story when I was reading, you said that the best thing that ever happened when you were outside there was that you never felt comfortable being in the world, in a way.
Yeah, sure.
And you were being away from God, things were not working out for you, and that was the best thing that happened.
Yeah.
So can you tell us what made you come back? To what extent did you drink? Did you become an addict, or it was just here and there, if you want? Were you dependent on alcohol, or it was
Well, I can say partly because, like I said, I started playing. And eventually I developed it to be a habit, because every time I could have a sip of beer, I could be confident, I could feel like I forget my troubles and all that. So until to an extent where I could buy a 6-pack of beer in my office, and every time I could feel like drinking, I could drink. But one good thing about me is I wasn't drinking public, because I didn't want my father to hear that I could drink because of my background and because even of my work by then. Yeah, because that's the time I started being an entrepreneur, because I started being an entrepreneur at a young age.
Okay.
So I didn't want to tarnish my image in terms of drinking, but so I could drink in private. Yeah.
So what made you come back to church? When was the rock bottom for you that made you say, this is too much, I can't?
Well, I always believe that God talks to people, and it was a very good and a new experience to me, because it was my desire since I was born to hear God speaking, and I could feel like people, their life, they say God speaks. But that day I believe He spoke to me, because it was a dream, and I really felt I could hear His voice talking to me that you have to stop doing this, and there's a better work that I have to give you that you're supposed to do. And from then on, I felt like I think I need to go back to church, but where to now? This is where the challenge was. So I started visiting other churches, but I couldn't feel really, really comfortable in those churches until I met another brother in town where I'm fellowshipping now, and as we were just sharing the word, I just felt encouraged that this is what I grew up hearing. But I asked him, where do you go to? So he told me the branch that he was going to, and I just decided to visit the church on a Sunday. And when I visited the church, it was actually a service for me, because it's like 3/4 of the service it was actually addressing my problems, addressing me. So I felt like God was actually confirming what I had during my dream. Yes. So I can say that is what brought me back. And one thing that I can say is I just came back, but I wasn't born again by then. So I started attending church, until one Sunday there was a message that was preached, and it touched me. And after that, this is when the prayer line was called, and I felt like I have to give my life to God.
Christ.
That was the day I gave my life to God. And from that day on, I never went back. Yes.
So how did you manage? How did you manage to leave drinking after like making a decision that this is what I want? Did the thirst just go away, or?
Yeah, well, you know, if you drink because of a condition, it's easy for you to drop, I believe.
Okay.
But if you drink because you love beer, it's not easy to quit what you love. Yeah.
Okay.
So to me, it was easy because I didn't love beer, but I thought it was a solution to something.
Okay.
So when I felt like I got a solution, I just quitted it automatically. Yes.
So what advice can you give to someone who might have grown up in a similar background and is currently going through the same things and has maybe stopped going to church and all?
Well, I can say the problem with the youth is we go to church because we follow parents.
True.
But we are supposed to be taught that we go to church to see God. And once we have that relationship with God, it becomes easy, right? And I could encourage every youth that don't base on what we are told, but we should base on reading the Word of God and praying, because I believe God answers prayer and He talks to us, even in dreams, even. You know, if someone sharing a testimony, even it's not about the formality that you have to be taught what to do. Yes. So my advice is it's never too late for anyone to come back to Christ, because there's always a chance. To me it was, and I believe everyone has got a chance. Yes.
And you took your second chance.
Yes, sure.
So you did mention in your story that reconciling with your dad was one of the best things that you did as well, and it helped your business. Can you just quickly tell us a little bit about that?
Well, by that I was meaning, initially when I started my entrepreneurship journey, I was working with my dad, and because of age difference, you know, we're not, coping the same. Okay. He had his own way of doing things, and you know, as a young teenager, I had my best ways of doing things, and eventually I felt like we have to separate, because the relationship went to be so tough to the extent that we couldn't speak with my father because of that. And of course, because of religious backgrounds, we had our religious differences. So that's why we parted with. But when I went to do the business, well, the way I could, you know, even get clients or do business, I could feel like, you know, I'm just going in merry-go-round. I wasn't progressing. Until someone just told me about a blessing from a father. And to me, it was more than just a lecture. And I felt like I have to go back to my father, regardless of any differences that we have. And I went back. Fortunately, my father was more than happy
to
have me back. And I'm happy. He actually prayed for me and to lay a hand on me and to bless me. From that day, I can tell you that my life has never been the same again. I started excelling in business, and I've got many projects that I'm doing from that time.
And talking about business, what is it that you do?
Well, besides my profession as a doctor, I'm also into fuel business. I'm also into agriculture. I've got highway business. Quite a number of businesses.
You're excited.
I'm also a trader, forex trader.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I really learned that prayer, even from the previous story, that prayer is the thing. If you want to let go of something, prayer is the way to go. And the most beautiful part of your story that we didn't go into is that coming back, you also came back with your wife, and that means that God got two souls.
Sure.
So congratulations on that, and congratulations on your baby as well. That I know he's big now, isn't? Congratulations. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us on this session. We really learned that second chances are there. God gives second chances, and God can change you, and you turn around and nobody can ever see or remember what you were, because he makes you a brand new person. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Till we meet again.